Like I said, we go on to part two, something extremely important. Joe got hit with a big job with talking about nutrition, deep diving into nutrition, because it's like we've heard it all, right? And it's oh my God, sorry. It's confusing. It's maybe a lot of frustration in our lives. We don't know what to believe, what not to believe. On and on it goes. Anxiety around food, you know. And knowing Jo, who really needs no introduction really for most of us, she's not just going to give you a laid out little plan here of step by step how to do it. She's going to try to get you guys thinking a little bit differently, thinking a little bit bigger. So make sure you got those journals and pens ready to go, and give it up for Jo.
All right, we're good. All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Matt, for not just the introduction, but for the opportunity here. When Matt first started talking about organizing this event, you know, I thought, wow, that's a risk and that takes courage, which it absolutely does. And then Matt was telling me how he was going to bring in Coach Lee. And I mean, you heard him speak. And he is so knowledgeable. He has so much to share, so much experience, highly respected in the industry, absolutely jacked out of his mind. And I thought, wow, that is awesome that Lee will come out and speak at this. And then Matt said, yeah, he's going to be talking about strength. And I thought, what an exciting topic. That is amazing. What a combination. And I know Matt was obviously going to speak at this. And again, great guy, highly respected, you know, has so much experience in the fitness industry, jacked out of his mind. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to come at it from the inspirational, motivational, you know, that's kind of my area. And I thought, well, that's great. That's really exciting. And he says, yeah, and so we'd like you to speak. Cool. And, you know, maybe address nutrition. I thought, now I feel like the older, boring sister with the younger, really cool brothers that are way more exciting. So I thought, you know what, that's a challenge. And if you know me, I do not back down from challenges. So I thought, how can I approach this that it's not boring? How can I make this more interesting? And I go back to what I know, what excites me, what makes me enthusiastic. And one thing that I love is to coach. I absolutely love to coach. I get very excited, very enthusiastic about that. And especially coaching at the Armory with Matt. Now, I'll qualify that by saying I am a certified personal trainer and I am a certified nutrition coach. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a nutritionist or a dietitian, but I am pretty well versed in this whole nutrition thing. And I do know what works. I have done a lot of studying with this. So that being said, if you have medical advice, you keep following that medical advice. But I wanted to find an approach to this that would be more interesting than just talking about what you should and shouldn't eat and yada. So I thought, you know, the reason why I love coaching so much at the Armory and I love coaching with Matt is because, in my opinion, we are a really strong team. And what makes us a really strong team is that we have a lot of shared core values and principles. We have a lot of the same values, a lot of the things that we hold close to our heart is very similar. We're both very passionate about our health and fitness journey, but not just our own, about bringing it to the wider community. We also have some differences, and I think that also makes us a strong team. So if you know Matt, you know that Matt does not drink alcohol, never has, never will, in any way, shape, or form, in any amount, for any occasion. If you know me, you know that I do occasionally enjoy a glass of wine. That is a difference. If you know Matt, you know that Matt does not use strong, spicy language. He does not swear for any reason, in any occasion. And I've known him for 8 years. I've coached with him for 6 years. I have never once heard him use strong language. I kind of feel like I bring balance to the force. That's sort of the approach that I take to why we make a strong team. So I thought, why not? Why not bring that into nutrition? So, welcome to Bringing Balance to the Force. Nutrition myth busting. So this is going to be a little bit of my own journey with nutrition, mistakes I've made, myths that I bought into, but also what I've heard at the Armory. And if you hear anything here and you're sitting there going, oh, that's me, No, it's a lot of you, and it's a lot of me as well. So, nutrition myth busting, bringing balance to the force, certified 100% bullshit free. All right, the first one. This is a personal one. So I started strength training with Matt 8 years ago. I had never picked up a weight in my life. I had been active, I had done lots of things, but I had not strength trained. And I really enjoyed it right out of the gate. I really enjoyed it. And yes, I did make some progress right out of the gate. And just like now, Matt would start every class with a motivational or inspirational, either a story, a tip, something that you could put into practice. And one thing that I heard him say more than once was some take on you cannot out-train a poor diet. I thought, it doesn't really apply to me. My diet's not poor. Now, I wasn't basing that on any knowledge or experience. That was just my take on it. I don't think it's poor. The other thing was you can't out-train. And I thought, yeah, you watch me. That's a challenge. I don't back down from a challenge. So I added in more workouts. And I did more at home. If I thought I ate too much or I thought I ate the wrong thing, I would work out more. So my attitude towards exercise was that it was to burn off calories. Now, this picture here with Matt and with me, it was about 4 months into my strength training journey. Now, I had made a little bit of progress, yeah, and I was pretty happy with it. But I had the attitude that I knew and that doesn't really apply to me, and I didn't really need to try that. So months went on, and I made a little bit more progress, but I really wasn't a whole lot closer to what I wanted to be able to do and to my own personal goals. And so after getting frustrated that I wasn't seeing the results that I thought I deserved because of all my hard work, I thought, okay, fine, I'll try a few things. So I tried a couple of little things that he said and most of it was with my nutrition, and I started seeing some more results. And I thought, so maybe I don't have to work off my calories. Maybe exercise should be more like a celebration of what my body can do. And it can be about getting stronger, and it can be about things that I can do that I couldn't do before. So I had to make that shift. And then I started doing a few more things that he suggested. And then over time, over the next 7 years, I started seeing a lot of results. And I started hitting some goals and then setting new ones. So yes, Matt, I'll admit it, you were right. And I'll also say that's not the only time I've had to say that. So myth number 1 and the balance brought to it is exercise is not about punishing yourself for what you've eaten or what you think you shouldn't have eaten. It is a celebration of what your body can do. And sometimes you have to admit that you need to try something different, and you need to trust somebody who actually cares about getting you to your goals, about making that progress. All right, so let's dive into nutrition. One of the big things right now is just throwing protein into everything, and I call it healthifying things. So take your cottage cheese, add some more cottage cheese, put some cottage cheese in that, and this is going to be the most delicious dessert you ever had, and it's going to help you get to your goals. Take a chocolate bar, throw some protein in it. We're going to call it a protein bar, or maybe we'll call it a power bar. And if you eat those more regularly, that's going to help you get to your goals. Or you just eat protein, that's all. That is a big one right now. Just protein. I am not downplaying the role that protein plays. For a lot of people, generally speaking, adding some protein into your diet would be a little bit more protein would be a really easy and efficient way, effective way of leveling up your nutrition. However, it's not going to be the only thing. So what exactly is protein? It is one of 3 macronutrients, nutrients that your body needs in larger volumes in order to be fit, strong, and healthy. It is not very calorically dense. There's not a lot of energy in it, actually. There's only 4 calories per gram of protein. And your body has to work pretty hard to digest it in its whole food form. So without it being processed into protein powder or thrown into those chocolate bars, your body has to work fairly hard to digest protein. So it helps keep you full longer. So those are kind of a quick rundown on what protein is. Now, how much should you be eating? We get asked this a lot. How much protein should I be eating? Well, it depends. That's an answer, or that is an answer that we'll use continually. It depends on your goals. but generally speaking, you would take your body weight, your lean body weight, in pounds. Now, I'm not talking what you weighed in junior high. I'm talking about a realistic lean body weight. For some people, it might be a little bit more than you weigh right now. For some people, it might be less. But take your weight in pounds, your lean body weight. And I want you to multiply that by 0.7. So for argument's sake, we're going to say a lean body weight would be 170 pounds. Multiplied by 0.7, that gives you 119. So at that end, 119 grams of protein per day. There's a range. The other side would be to multiply it by 1, so 170. So each day, you aim to eat somewhere in that range of 119 to 170 grams of protein. And if you're sitting there going, holy shit, I can't eat that much protein, I'm going to challenge you, do you have any idea how much that is? Do you have any idea how much you're eating right now? Because I would have told you, oh, I eat quite a bit of protein. Yeah, there's lots of protein in what I eat. Until I started learning about it, until I started weighing, measuring, and tracking it. And back, that first picture, that one, I'm at about half of what I needed to be eating. I thought I had lots of protein in what I was eating consistently. It was about half of what I needed to eat to get to the goals I had set for myself. So that's just a quick rundown and a range. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. It doesn't mean you automatically want to go to that top end range. It means that gives you an idea. All right, this one, I hope we're coming out of this phase. Carbs are evil. They are to blame for everything that is going wrong in your life. Your kids misbehave because they ate too many carbs. You can't get to your goals because you ate some carbs. Fruit makes you fat, and sugar is the devil. There is so much wrong with that. First of all, carbohydrates, there's 4 calories per gram, just like protein. They're not calorically dense. Sugar is not the devil, and it's not carbs that makes you gain weight. The reason you gain weight is because you're consistently consuming more calories, more energy than your body can use. It isn't just the carbs and it isn't just the protein. It's any calories, any energy. Now, the difference with carbohydrates is that they're digested more quickly. Your body doesn't have to work as hard, which isn't a bad thing because they provide quick energy. Your body will take the fiber, the starches, and the sugar that's found in food and turns it into glucose. And then that is a primary fuel source for your body. And if you're thinking, oh, I don't want glucose in my body and I don't want quick energy, well, protein takes a long time to digest and to be available as energy. And if you're walking around feeling miserable because you've cut out all carbs and nobody wants to be around you, and you're feeling lethargic and you just don't have that energy, try adding a few carbs into there. So carbs have 4 calories per gram. There's different things you can discuss about that, but I'm going to focus on the fiber. Because that is something, when you cut out all carbs, you cut out the grains, the vegetables, and the fruit, not only do you lose a lot of minerals and vitamins, but fiber. There are so many studies coming out now showing how important that fiber is. And there's 2 types of fiber. There's a soluble fiber. It dissolves in water. When you eat that kind of fiber, it forms a gel-like substance. And that gel-like substance slows digestion down just a little bit. The other thing it does is help lower your cholesterol. The LDL, the bad kind of cholesterol that causes a lot of health issues, when you consume soluble fiber, it helps lower that. The insoluble fiber, it doesn't dissolve in water, and it's got a very important job. It bulks up your poop so that when you sit on the toilet, it's not coming out of you like a fire hose. So that's pretty critical, if you ask me. The other thing it does is slow that waste down. So you don't get it helps move it through your system so that it doesn't slow completely down and stop and bung you up and you're literally walking around full of shit. So fiber is super important. How much should you be eating? Well, there is again a range. For women, the recommended amount is somewhere between 25 and 35 grams a day. For men, 30 to 40 is sort of the rough estimation. And if again you're thinking, I can't eat that much fiber, I don't know where it is, a little bit of learning will help with that. A little bit of Googling helps with that. And adding that fiber, adding those carbohydrates into your diet not only makes the food and what you're eating, your plan, so much more tasty, you can find that you feel better, you have more energy. And that whole thing about fruit makes you fat, I have never yet seen anybody unhealthy because they included a couple pieces of fruit in their regular nutrition plan. And that bowl of watermelon, by the way, and in my opinion, watermelon is the absolute best fruit out there. That's a pound of watermelon. That's 140 calories. You can eat 5 pounds of watermelon if you can to make a meal. You're gonna be running to the bathroom a lot, but you could do it. So for somebody to say that sugar makes you gain body fat, it's not the sugar. It's the excess calories consumed consistently over time that's going to be stored as body fat. That's what your body does. It recognizes it has more energy than it needs, so it stores it for later. Doesn't matter if it comes from protein, doesn't matter if it comes from carbs. Don't be blaming carbs for all the problems in your life. Now, if I could go back and change anything about the myths that I believed and the mistakes I made, in the late 80s and early 90s, fat makes you fat. Low fat, no fat. Buy the Snackwell's chocolate sandwich cookies. Anybody remember that green box? I would buy those and I'd think, well, it says low fat. And when you looked on the label, there was hardly any fat in them. Man, I can eat the whole thing. And yeah, I would. And then feel terrible. But it's not going to make me fat because there's no fat in it. Dietary fat and body fat are two completely different things. Fat doesn't make you fat. Consistently consuming more energy than your body needs over time is stored, the excess will be stored as body fat. Doesn't matter if it comes from fat, carbohydrates, or protein, all the energy. So there's a difference between dietary fat and body fat. High quality dietary fat not only makes food delicious, it brings out the flavor in the spices, it adds texture, and there is so much evidence showing that brain health needs sufficient dietary fat. There's also 4 vitamins that your body cannot absorb without dietary fat. Vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. They have to have dietary fat in order to be absorbed by your body. So how much should you be eating? The thing about dietary fat is it's very energy dense. There are 9 calories per gram. So it doesn't take very much for those calories to really add up, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just be aware of it. The first time I measured out what a serving of peanut butter was, it literally hurt my heart just a little bit. And that was simply because at that point I didn't understand the overall picture and what I needed to consume in order to get to my goals. So what I would suggest, if you're wondering how much you should be eating, start with your protein, figure out how much protein you need, and then figure out the energy content in that protein, the calories, in those servings of protein. Then figure out your fiber and the energy content in the fiber that you're planning to eat as you get towards your goals, whatever those are. Then just fill in the blanks, fill in the rest with your dietary fat. For some people it'll be a little more, for some people it'll be a little less. But just do a little bit of work, do a little bit of research to figure that out. That is the simplest way, and then don't get caught in that fat makes you fat, so anything low fat is going to be better for me myth. The balance here is that all foods can have a place in a good nutrition plan. Just be educated about it and balance that out. All right, I gotta include this one because this drives me nuts. You see some idiot influencer in a grocery store holding up something and saying this is poisonous, this will kill you, it's toxic, don't touch it. 2 really big ones right now are seed oils and artificial sweeteners. Anybody seen that? Somebody, oh, this is going to kill you. Don't buy this. Don't feed it to your kids. Understand they're not doing that because they care about you or they're trying to keep you healthy and safe. They're doing it like Coach Lee had that slide. They're doing it for the likes and the clicks and the shares. They don't care about you. And those words carry a lot of weight. They grab you. And oh my gosh, I don't want to kill anybody, so I better make sure that I don't have seed oils or artificial sweeteners. Now, I'm not going to talk about both of those. I'm just going to pick on artificial sweeteners because that's the one that I've heard at the Armory the most. So when people talk about artificial sweeteners being poisonous or toxic, They like to point to a study that was done on mice, and they say, well, it showed in this study, because that's what these idiot influencers grabbed and pulled out, that it was a possibility of it being carcinogenic, causing cancer in mice. And there were some heart issues too in that study in mice. The problem with that little soundbite, there's a couple of problems. The first one is I don't know if you know this, but you are not a large rodent. Anybody could confuse that? Biologically, physiology, you are not a large rodent. So the studies done in mice don't automatically translate to humans. The second thing is when they say, well, there's no studies done on humans. Well, no, if it shows a possibility in mice, it would be unethical to do a study on humans. But just for argument's sake, let's say you are a large rodent. You are a very large mouse. And we can take that cherry-picked study and we can translate it directly into you. Do you know that in the quantity that they talked about for mice that showed it to be possibly carcinogenic, you would need to consume between 35 and 50 cans of diet, we'll pick on diet pop, containing artificial sweetener every single day for years for that to translate. Now, I'm not advocating the overuse of artificial sweeteners. If you have a nutrition plan, a diet, what you're eating contains a lot of artificial sweeteners, you likely have a whole lot more problems. I'm not advocating for artificial sweeteners. What I'm saying is have some balance. When somebody is using buzzwords and just trying to instill fear in you that doesn't really care about your health, but really wants you to share that so they can have more exposure, that's where you want to have some balance. And if you're looking for really good, trusted sources that can help you sort through that, talk to me and I'll point you in the direction of a couple of those. The other thing I'm going to say is a lot of times those influencers, if you go through some of their social media, you'll see them, enjoying a drink with someone. And I'm not saying you need to go to a Matt Manti level. However, I am going to tell you that alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen. And there are human studies, unfortunately, because we do have adults that have consistently consumed alcohol over long periods of time, so we do have data on that. So when you drink any amount of alcohol, your body recognizes it but can't actually process that alcohol, so it turns it into ethanol. Ethanol is poisonous. Puts all your other systems kind of offline, your metabolism, whatever else is going on, and your liver works overtime to clear that ethanol out of your system. So if you are, demonizing artificial sweeteners, but yet you are drinking something in any quantity that is a poison, I'm going to say you got no balance there and you got no credibility. So again, I'm not advocating that you either have to abstain completely from alcohol. I'm just saying have some balance and be educated on what it is that you're putting into your body. And then when you're making those choices, be fully aware. All right, another one we hear a lot. Just you wait. Especially women, we've heard this one, just you wait till you have a baby. And then just wait till you have 2. Just wait till you turn 40. And guys, you probably heard that one too. Another one exclusively for women, just wait till perimenopause. Wait till you are postmenopausal. There's nothing you can do. You're frail, you're fragile. Everything's going to fall apart. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some real challenges. There are real challenges when you bring an infant into a home. Your body undergoes massive hormonal changes later in life. What I'm saying is, if you're comparing in your 20s, you didn't have decades of poor habits. When you're 40, you might have some decades, so it's harder. And as you age, it is harder to do anything. So you're not frail, you're not fragile, you're not helpless, but things do accumulate. And don't think that just turning a page on a calendar or seeing another number come up when you're spinning the dial, to pick your birth year, that means there's nothing you can do. The balance there is a lot under your control. The other thing I've heard is it's genetic. It runs in my family. My dad had type 2 diabetes. My grandpa did, my uncle, 2 of them, it's in my genes. The best response I heard to that, and I'm sorry I don't remember who said it, was it's not in your genetics. It's in your kitchen, your pantry, and your freezer. Genetics, load the gun. Diet and lifestyle, pull the trigger. So maybe you don't have control over your genes. The gun may be loaded, but you do have a lot of control over what's pulling that trigger. So there's the balance. Another one we hear a lot, doing everything right. I don't know why I'm not getting to my goal. I'm doing everything right. So I'm going to give you an analogy here, because if you know me, you know I love me some analogies. So I come to you and I say, I really want to save for a dream adventure, a dream vacation. You say, cool, that's a great goal. Yep, that's attainable. And I come back to you in 2 or 3 months and I'm really frustrated and I'm pissed off because I haven't made any progress, any real progress. And I feel like I've really worked towards that. And I'm frustrated, and you listen to me vent, and then you say, okay, well, yeah, I can probably help you. So how much money do you make a month? I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that, but I'm sure I make enough. And you say, okay, well, how much do you spend and what do you spend it on? I don't know. Like, I don't spend very much. I really don't, but I'm not making any progress. Would anybody be surprised that I can't afford my dream adventure? Of course not. It is the same with your goals. I'm not saying you need to weigh, measure, track absolutely everything that you eat, drink, all the licks, bites, and tastes. I am saying that is the most accurate, but there are other methods that can really help. If you have no method at all and you're just eyeballing it, I'm going to refer you back to that first slide where I had to admit that Matt was right. There are lots of ways to track. There's lots of ways for you to know how much you're consuming, and then use exercise as a way to feel really good about your progress and about what you can do. Don't use it as a way to burn it off. But if you have absolutely no idea how much energy you're taking in, why in the world would you be surprised that you're not making the progress you think you deserve? All right, another one. I might offend a few people with this one. Oh well. All right, you need to detox and you need to cleanse. The reason you're not making progress towards your goal is your body is hanging on to all this stuff. So if you've given me $149.99, I'm going to hand over this product. You're going to put it in your water, boil it up. You're going to drink 3 cups of this. You know what? You're going to lose weight really quickly, and all that detox and cleansing, juice cleanse, whatever it is really going to help you get to your goals. I'm going to challenge that and say the balance here is you give me $149.99 and I make every time you flush that toilet really expensive. Because that's one thing we call it is diarrhea tea. If you have a working liver, kidneys, and skin, your body is just continually getting rid of toxins, cleansing, drink some water. You don't need to spend money on a program. And if somebody tells you you do, understand, they're just trying to get your money. They don't really care about progress. And yes, you can step on the scale and you can see a lower number, but has anybody ever had like intestinal flu, like where you pretty much live on the toilet? I went down 5 pounds in about 10 hours. It's simply because I had nothing left in me. So it isn't detoxing and cleansing your system, it's just making flush really expensive. There's the balance. All right, it's too expensive and I don't have time. It's way too expensive to eat, lean proteins and adding in the fiber and having some fruits. Way too expensive. I don't have time for that. I spoke with somebody who has made incredible progress in her health and fitness journey, who told me that since she switched out, just ordering up the pizza or going through the drive-through and started paying attention to what she was going to be eating, just a little bit of planning. I'm not saying meal planning where your fridge is full of little containers. I'm just saying some education that her grocery bill's been cut in half. So I'm going to challenge the balance that it's way too expensive. You got to be smart. You're not going to be going and buying, the most expensive because I absolutely love. Maybe you're buying things that are on sale. Maybe you're buying some frozen fruit and vegetables. Lots of nutrient-dense content in that food. But it doesn't have to be really expensive. If it has to be really expensive for you, you need to kind of change your idea of what you need to be eating. And saying that you don't have time, the balance on that is you've got a phone for the pizza, or you got to go through the drive-through, give them your money, wait for them to take your order, give you the food, or order the pizza and have it delivered. In that time, you could go to the grocery store, walk in, grab a rotisserie chicken, bag of prepared salad, and be done. And if somebody's arguing, well, that's not the best because of, well, it's so much better than that, and you can actually know the nutritional content of what you're eating. So the balance of it's too expensive and I don't have time is that you just need to put in a little bit of effort at first to figure out alternatives for that. Oh, it's way too hard and it takes way too long. That's what she said. Right. It doesn't need to be rocket science. If you're overcomplicating it, that's part of the problem. You're setting yourself up for failure. Keep it super simple, and I'll give you an example. Pick 2 breakfasts. One that you're going to eat Monday through Friday or your busy days, one that you're going to have on the weekend. Figure out the protein, the fiber, and the calorie content, the energy content of those 2 breakfasts. Do the same for lunch. Maybe you just have 2 different kinds of sandwiches. Keep it super simple. Figure out, again, protein, fiber, and calorie content. And then do the same for your evening meal. 2 suppers, super simple. Try and make enough that maybe you have some leftovers and you don't have to continually cook. Then just pick and choose. You've done all of the calculating. That's super simple. At the end of the week, if it worked really well, just rinse and repeat. If you want to, pick 2 more lunches, 2 more suppers, whatever it is that will work for you. If you're thinking already, well, that's way too boring. Does your food always need to entertain you? There's the balance. Sometimes it could. But does it always have to be a flavor explosion and the most exciting part of your day? I don't know. You pick your balance. The other argument I've heard is my family won't want to eat the same thing. Well, sucks to be them. If your family's old enough to, we called it fend for yourself. For 1 week, I guess they don't appreciate the effort you're making, so let them fend for themselves. The other thing is, in my family, you were allowed to complain loudly about what was placed on the table as long as you were in your room with the door shut. So if you don't like the food that's on the table or the repeat, well, then go in your room, shut the door, and complain about it. Great. If you're arguing for your limitations, there's no balance in there. Keep it super simple. And then Coach Lee touched on this one a little bit, but it taking too long. I'm not making enough progress quick enough. Well, I'll challenge you on that one. The balance is, if you've gone for a beautiful hike, and we were just in our dream adventure in Morocco, and we went on a couple of amazing hikes, and it was a long, hard hike to the top. Worth it, but it was a long, hard hike. When we got to the top of the mountain, the quickest way down would have been to throw ourselves off the edge. Would have thrown ourselves off the edge, down to the bottom as fast as possible, but not unscathed. So in order to get down that mountain, we had to put 1 foot in front of the other consistently over time, and it took a long time. But we got down to the bottom, and it didn't hurt. So rather than looking for the quickest way out, the balance is, if it took you a long time to get to the top of the mountain, expect it to take a long time. But you consistently have to balance that by putting 1 foot in front of the other. All right, this is one of my favorite ones. One of my favorite analogies. So I want you to think about the idea that you are building your dream home. Tim, you'll know about this one. Building your dream home. You gather the best materials. You've talked to people that understand what the best materials are, and you get those together. You have people that know how to build houses, and they're going to help you. They're going to advise you. And Monday through Friday, you work diligently on that house, consistently, diligently building that house. And then come Friday, you're like, man, I worked really hard. I deserve a treat. You call up your friends. Let's burn this sucker to the ground. Woo, we're going to celebrate. So you burn down that house. And then Monday, you wake up and you go, shit, I burnt that house down. So you gather those materials together again, really good materials. You have your advisors. You have really good information. You've got that plan. You diligently build that house. And you make it through Friday. And then on Saturday, your friends phone you up and say, hey, want to burn your house down? And you're like, yeah, why not? Let's burn this sucker down. And this repeats itself over and over and over again. And after 6 months, you go, where's my house? Why don't I have a house? It's because you burn that sucker down every weekend. So I'm not saying you need to be perfect. Perfect has no balance. Perfect is procrastination. What I'm saying is, it is what you do consistently. And consistently means that the weekends count. It means that if you burn your house down 3 or 4 times over the weekend, you've burned your house down. So the next time you decide, you know what, I've worked really hard, I'm just going to burn that sucker down, please don't complain that you don't have any progress towards building your dream home. All right. Just in case you're wondering who these handsome gentlemen are. The one in the shamrock hat, that would be Uriah Manti. The one with the chickens, that would be Ezra Manti. And the orange gentleman in the middle, that would be Robert B. Peters, better known as Bob. The reason I'm telling you this is when you meet somebody or somebody is talking about their children or maybe their beautiful little orange buddy, you might ask, so what's their name? And I told you what the name is. The name is important when you're meeting people. When it comes to what you're eating, your nutritional plan, there's no balance if you think that your diet, what you're eating, needs to have a fancy-ass name. So an example of this is somebody who's made incredible progress towards their goals, whatever their goals are, and their friends notice that they've made great progress. And they're like, how'd you do it? And you say, well, I learned about protein and fiber and dietary fat, and I've learned about a great way to track that, and I kept consistently within my range for each of those consistently over time, a long time. I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and that's how I've made such great progress. And they look at you like, yeah, but was it South Beach? Was it keto? Which one of these fancy ones were? You're like, no, it didn't have a fancy name. The balance there is, if you're looking for something fancy or for somebody to give you that hack, the quickest way to your goal is to stop looking for the quickest way to your goal and just do the things consistently over time. How can you tell if that hack isn't going to be balanced, isn't going to be good for you? There's lots of different ways, but one of them is that it's not sustainable. You really can't see yourself doing this for a long time because you're miserable when you're doing it or other people are telling you you're being kind of a bitch. It's not sustainable. You've eliminated entire food groups or most of entire food groups, and you're looking for quick results. If it promises quick results, 30 pounds, 30 days, those are the ones that they really don't care about you, and they don't care about being fit, strong, and healthy. They just care about getting your money. So the balance there is, it doesn't need to have an exciting hack name. It's just what you're doing consistently over time. So hopefully I've brought some balance to your force. So a way to know, am I bringing balance to my force? Am I going to make progress towards my goals? Are you interested in learning? Are you going to spend a little bit of time educating yourself? Are you willing to put in that time? Are you willing to admit that maybe you don't have all the answers and maybe what you've been doing over and over and over again is not actually helping you make sustainable progress? Are you putting anything into practice? Are you willing to continually practice this? How are you feeling about life? Are you having fun? Is there joy in your life? Maybe it isn't your goal to jump naked off of a dock, I don't know. What is your life going to look like in 5 years if you keep doing what you're doing right now? Are you going to be able to accomplish some of the things you really want to accomplish? Will your life look better with that? Or what's your life going to look like in 5 years? Does it excite you or does it scare you a little bit? That's where the balance is coming in. And hopefully I've helped bring some balance to your force. You're welcome to ask questions afterwards. I'll be in the lobby. If there's anything I can do to help you bring that balance in, I'm not going to try and sell you something, but I am going to be honest about it. So if I can help, please go ahead and ask me questions afterwards. Thank you. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for George.